White just played. On a4, pause the video and try to predict black's next move. On h6. On c5. King d5. Black considers playing. King takes c5. King takes e4. King b4. King d3. King takes a4 and increase their advantage significantly. On c6, move preferred by white. White is setting up to play. On c7. King c6. On promotes to queen at c8 check and put immense pressure on the opponent. King takes c6 played by black. King d4. On e3. Black is planning to play. On e2. King e4. On promotes to queen at e1 check and increase their advantage significantly. King takes e3 played by white. King c5. On h4. King b4. King d4. King takes a4. King e4. King b4. King f5. On a4. King g6. On a3. Black is preparing to play. On a2. King f5. On promotes to queen at a1 and increase their advantage significantly. King takes g7 was chosen by white. On h5. King g6. On a2. King takes h5. On promotes to queen at a1. King g6. Black has a decisive advantage. Let's go to the next game. White just played. On b4 check, pause the video to analyze black's next move. King d5. On b5. White is planning to play. King b4. On g5. King a5. King c4. King a6. On g4. On a4. On h5. King takes a7 and take decisive advantage. King c5 move preferred by black. On a4. On h5. Black considers playing. On h4. On a5. King takes b5 and dominate the board. On a5 played by white. King takes b5. King d4. King takes a5. King takes e4. King b6. King f5. On a5. King g5. On a4. King g6. On a3. King takes g7. On a2. Black's idea is to play. Pawn promotes to queen at a1 check and put immense pressure on the opponent. King g6 move preferred by white. On h4. Black is setting up to play. Pawn promotes to queen at a1 and increase their advantage significantly. King g5 played by white. On h3. Black might go for pawn takes g2 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes h3 was chosen by white. Pawn promotes to queen at a1. On h4, white is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. White just played. On g5, pause the video to figure out black's next move. On h5. On takes h6. On takes h6. King c3. King a4. King d2. On e4. King e3. King b5. Black is preparing to play. King c4. King f4. On h5 and gain a significant edge. King d4 played by white. On h5. King e3. King c4. King f4. On d4. Black is aiming to play. On e3. On b5. On e2. On a4. On promotes to queen at e1. On a5. Queen takes a5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On b5 move preferred by white. King takes b5. On a4 check. King c4. On the 5. On e3. On a6. On e2. On a7. On promotes to queen at e1. Black is looking to play. Queen f5. On promotes to queen at a8. Queen takes a8 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On promotes to queen at a8 move preferred by white. Queen takes h4 check. King f5 white has no response. Let's go to the next game. Black played. On h5 pause the video and try to predict white's next move. On g3. King f7. King e5. King e7. On a4. On the 5. On h4. King f7. King d6. King f6. King c6. White is setting up to play. King b6. On e5. On takes e5 check. King takes e5. King takes a5 and take decisive advantage. King f5 was chosen by black. Black is aiming to play. King g4. King b6. King takes g3. King takes a5. King takes f4 and secure a stronghold in the game. King b5 was chosen by white. White is setting up to play. King takes a5 and secure a stronghold in the game. On e5 was chosen by black. On takes e5. King takes e5. King takes a5. King f5. King b4. King g4. On the 5. White is setting up to play. King c4. On g5. On takes g5. King takes g5. King d3. King g4. On a6. King takes g3. King e3 and gain a significant edge. King takes g3 was chosen by black. On a6. King takes h4. King c4. White intends to play. King d4. King g4. On a7. King f5. On promotes to queen at 8 and gain a significant edge. King g3 played by black. On a7. King g4. On promotes to queen at a8. White is preparing to play. Queen e4 check. King g5. King d5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King f5 white is in a commanding position. Let's go to the next game. Black played. On h6 pause the video to analyze white's next move. On h5. King g5. King takes e5. King takes h5. On f6. King g6. Black is setting up to play. Pawn takes f6 check and increase their advantage significantly. Pawn takes g7 move preferred by white. King takes g7. King e6. On h5. Black intends to play. On h4. King d5. On h3. King c5. King f6. King b6. King e5. King takes a5. On h2 and seize the initiative. King f5 played by white. King f7. On f4. White's idea is to play. King g5. King e6. On f5 check. King f7. King takes h5. King f6. King g4. King e5. King g5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On h4 was chosen by black. Black intends to play. On h3. King e5. On h2. King d4. King f6 and seize the initiative. King g4 move preferred by white. King f6. King takes h4. King f5. Black intends to play king takes f4 and dominate the board. King g3 move preferred by white. King e4. King g4. King d3. On f5. King c2. On f6. King takes b3. On f7. King takes a4. King f4. White wants to play king e4. On b3. King d3. King b5. On promotes to queen at f8. On a4. King c3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. On b3 played by black. On promotes to queen at f8. White is looking to play queen d6. On b2. Queen d3. King b4. King e3. On a4. King d2. On a3. Queen c3 check and increase their advantage significantly. On b2 black has no response. Let's go to the next game. White just played. On d6 pause the video to analyze black's next move. On c3. On d7. King takes a2. On promotes to queen at d8. King b2. Queen h4. On a2. Queen takes b4. On promotes to queen at a1. Black wants to play queen g1 check. King b7. Queen g2 check. King c8. Queen h3 check. King d8. Queen d3 check and dominate the board. Queen d4 played by white. King b1. Queen d1 check. King a2. Black wants to play queen takes d1 and secure a stronghold in the game. Queen d5 played by white. On c2. On b4 check. King b1. Queen e4. Queen f6 check. King c7. King b2. Black is setting up to play pawn promotes to queen at c1 check and secure a stronghold in the game. Queen g2 played by white. Queen c3 check. King d8. Queen d3 check. King c7. King b3. Black is aiming to play pawn promotes to queen at c1 check and increase their advantage significantly. Queen g5 was chosen by white. Queen c3 check. King d7. On promotes to queen at c1. Queen d5 check. Black has a decisive advantage. Let's go to the next game. Black played. On b5 pause the video and try to predict white's next move. Black is setting up to play pawn takes a4 and establish a winning position. On a5 move preferred by white. On g5. King e5. King c7. On g3. King c6. On h4. King c7. On takes g5. On takes g5. On g4. King d7. King f5. King d6. King takes g5. King e5. King g6. King d4. On g5. King d5. King f5. White is aiming to play on g6. King c4. On g7. King c3. On promotes to queen at g8. King takes b4. King e4 and secure a stronghold in the game. King d6 was chosen by black. On g6. White is aiming to play on g7. King d5. On promotes to queen at g8 check and secure a stronghold in the game. King e7 was chosen by black. King e5. White intends to play King f5. King d6. On g7. King d5. On promotes to queen at g8 check and gain a significant edge. King e8 was chosen by black. On g7. White considers playing, pawn promotes to queen at g8 check, and gain a significant edge. King f7 move preferred by black. King d4. White might go for King c5. King g8. King b6 and seize the initiative. King g6 was chosen by black. Pawn promotes to queen at g8 check. King f5 black is outplayed. Let's go to the next game. White made a move. King e3. Pause the video to figure out black's next move. King c4. King e2. Pawn g4. King e3. Pawn takes f3. King f2. King d3. Black considers playing, king takes e4, and establish a winning position. King takes f3 played by white. King d4. King g4. King takes e4. King takes h3. King f3. Black's idea is to play on e4. King h4. On e3. King h5. On e2. King g6. Pawn promotes to queen at e1, and establish a winning position. On g4 move preferred by white. King f2. King h4. On e4. Black's idea is to play King f3. On g5. Pawn takes g5 check. King takes g5. On e3. King f5. On e2. King e6. King g4 and gain a significant edge. King h5 played by white. On e3. Black's idea is to play on e2. King g6. King f3. King takes f6. King takes g4. King e7. Pawn promotes to queen at e1 check, and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn g5 was chosen by white. Pawn takes g5. King g4. King g2. Black is aiming to play on e2. King takes g5. King h3. King g6. King h4 and dominate the board. King takes g5 move preferred by white. King h3. Black is aiming to play on e2. King g6. Pawn promotes to queen at e1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King f6 move preferred by white. King h4. King f7. King h3. Black intends to play King h4. King f6. On e2. King e6. Pawn promotes to queen at e1 check, and secure a strong hold in the game. King e6 move preferred by white. On e2. King d6. Pawn promotes to queen at e1. King c5. White is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King c5. Pause the video to analyze white's next move. On g5. White is preparing to play on h5. King takes c4. On h6. Pawn takes h6. On g6. King c3. On g7. On h5. Pawn promotes to queen at g8 and take decisive advantage. On a5 played by black. King e4. King d6. On c5 check. King e7. On h5. On a4. Black's idea is to play on a3. On g6. On a2 and establish a winning position. King d4 played by white. White is preparing to play King c4. King d7. King b4. King c6. King takes a4. King takes c5. King b3. King d6. On h6, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King d7 move preferred by black. On h6, white is planning to play pawn takes g7 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes h6 was chosen by black. Pawn takes h6. On a3, black is preparing to play. On a2, king e4. Pawn promotes to queen at a1 and secure a stronghold in the game. King c3 was chosen by white. King c6. King b3. King takes c5. King takes a3. King b5. King b3. White might go for. On h7. King c5. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and increase their advantage significantly. King c5 was chosen by black. King c3. White considers playing. On h7. King d5. Pawn promotes to queen at h8 and take decisive advantage. King d5 move preferred by black. King b4. White is looking to play. King b5. King e6. On h7. King d5. King b6. King e4. King takes b7 and secure a stronghold in the game. King c6 played by black. King c4. White's idea is to play. On h7. On b5 check. King d4. On b4. Pawn promotes to rook at h8 and take decisive advantage. King d6 move preferred by black. King b5. King e6. On h7. White might go for pawn promotes to queen at h8 and gain a significant edge. King e5 played by black. King b6. King f5. King takes b7. King f4. Black's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. On g5, pause the video to analyze white's next move. On takes b5. On takes b5. King f3. King f6. King e4. White wants to play. On g4. On takes g4. On takes g4. King e7. King e5. King d7. On b4. King e7. On d5 and increase their advantage significantly. King e7 was chosen by black. King e5. White's idea is to play. On g4. On takes g4. On takes g4. King f7. On b4. King e7. On d5 and dominate the board. On g4 move preferred by black. Black is planning to play pawn takes h3 and establish a winning position. On takes g4 move preferred by white. On takes g4. On b4. King d7. On d5. White might go for pawn takes e6 check and take decisive advantage. On takes d5 move preferred by black. King takes d5. King c7. King e6. On the 5. King d5. White is aiming to play pawn takes a5 and secure a stronghold in the game. On takes b4 move preferred by black. On takes b4. King d7. King c5. King c7. King takes b5. King d6. King c4. King c6. King d4. King b5. King e4. King takes b4. King f4. King c5. King takes g4. King d6. Black has no response. Let's go to the next game.